Cape Town is a city of oceans, mountains, and a once thriving commuter train network that's been nearly destroyed and is slowly, maybe, coming back to life. Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of Cape Town's passenger rail system. We're going to take a quick look at its history, its downfall, and the efforts underway to bring it back. Let's start at the beginning. The roots of Cape Town's passenger train system stretch back to the 1800s, a long time ago. Durban in Natal actually had the honor of opening the first railway line in South Africa, which was in 1860. Cape Town gets the honor of having the first main railway line in the country. This line was operated by Cape Town Railway and Dock Company, and the main line was 63 miles long from Cape Town to Wellington via Stellenbosch. This line was opened on the 4th of November, 1863. A year later, the Wynberg Railway Company launched its first service from Salt River to Wynberg. By 1882, the line extended all the way to Muizenberg, and then Kalk Bay in 1883, and finally Simonstown by 1890. These were all steam trains until 1928, when electric trains were introduced. This was done by a 3,000-volt direct current overhead system. Over the decades after that, Cape Town's railway network expanded rapidly. Lines reached into the Cape Flats to areas like Athlone, Pinelands, and Mitchell's Plain. Other lines stretched north, connecting Belleville to Kraaifontein to Stellenbosch, Strand, and Wellington. What is quite notable to mention is that during apartheid, there was a lot of segregation, specifically around trains. There were specific train cars designated for white people and separate ones for non-white people. The non-white cars would often be overflowing with lots of people, and the white cars would be completely empty. It was really unfair. A lot of the train stations even had separate entrances and ticketing offices for the different races. Democracy in 1994 led to the disbandment of all of this, as well as to the disbandment of the SAR. After that, PRASA became the National Agency for Passenger Rail. Moving forward to 2017, PRASA began introducing newer electric trains. These units are called the Extrapolis Mega Unit, which sounds very like sci-fi, but they're actually pretty cool trains. They're built locally in partnership with Alstom and Gavella. They have a factory building these trains in Gauteng, which is pretty cool. It even has its own little test line for the trains to get tested on. I thought that was cool. The Cape Town passenger rail system is operated by Metro Rail Western Cape, and it includes about 460 kilometers of track. It also has 122 stations, and there are 4 main lines: the Southern Line, the Northern Line, the Central Line, and the Cape Flats Line. And this all sounds amazing, and it really was. But then the system began to collapse, starting in 2014, and then it got even worse, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. A system that once carried over 170 million passengers per year saw numbers drop by 90% in that decade. And this is really crazy because passenger rail is really important to any flourishing metro, which Cape Town, it is. So this really needs to change. And to be honest, I've been in Cape Town traffic and it's really, really bad. And I really wish that trains were a viable option. So let's break down what happened. Firstly, there was infrastructure theft and vandalism. Copper cables were stolen, tracks were broken, carriages were burnt out. There was a whole spate of arson in 2014. So there was a lot going on, and infrastructure just got destroyed and stolen, which is terrible. Secondly, there were land invasions. This took place mostly on the Central Line. There were informal settlements that sprang up on lines near or on the tracks themselves, especially in Langa and Philippi. This obviously made train services completely physically impossible. This problem was exacerbated during the COVID-19 pandemic and the fallout of a security contract. And that's a whole nother saga. There's a lot going on there. There's murders, there's a lot of corruption, but this led to all the stations and lines being completely unprotected for months on end during the lockdown period. So everything was wrecked, things were stolen, all the infrastructure was stolen. Pretty much all that was left is the concrete bases of the stations. Crazy. The third problem is safety. Train stations became dangerous. Commuters had to deal with broken fences, missing lights, and even attacks on trains. There was incidents of stone throwing that damaged the carriages, as well as endangered lives. And to be honest, nobody wants to travel on something when you feel like your life is at risk. The last problem is management. PRASA, which is the Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa, which runs the trains in the Western Cape and most of South Africa, passenger trains that is, has been plagued by mismanagement, delays, and a whole lot of corruption scandals. A lot of corruption scandals, which has led to these broken stations, trains being idle, and passengers being stranded. And although there has been progress in restoring services on some corridors, reliability, coverage, and security remain significant challenges for commuters. It's not all doom and gloom though, which is great. In 2023 and 2024, PRASA began a recovery project. The first success of this being the reopening of Cape Town's Central Line. This line had been completely shut since 2019, but after years of rebuilding, service is gradually returning between Cape Town, Philippi, Khayelitsha, and Mitchell's Plain. The crazy thing is, this project cost more than 1.3 billion rand, of which didn't need to be spent in the first place. Anyway, there are currently 2 trains per hour that run on this route, with plans to increase this to 6 by 2026. That is, once all the signalling has been restored. Elsewhere on the Southern Line, which links Cape Town to Simonstown, this is about 98% re-signalled, and they also use the new Extrapolis Mega trains on this line. What is pretty cool is that you can actually check the train schedules on Google Maps, thanks to some advocacy and civic groups that have made this happen. I mean, it's crazy to think that that's cool, because it should just be the norm. But anyway, it's cool that it is actually there and you can use that system. On paper, PRASA has big plans. It seems to be wanting to invest in new trains and modernize stations and restore what has been broken. But in reality, there's still a lot of problems that remain. Stations like Nyanga and Philippi still have broken lifts, missing fences, and various safety hazards. There is hope though. After years of these problems, the city of Cape Town is now trying to step up and fix the problem. And yes, I am a blatant supporter of the work that the city is doing, but that's because I live here and I see things improving. So I will be supporting that, and I think it's really cool. In late 2024, the city and PRASA signed a service level plan, which is like a legal agreement allowing the city to work directly with PRASA on improving the train services. This includes data sharing, joint station upgrades, and long-term planning, like introducing integrated ticketing with My City buses and building transit-oriented communities around stations. What is also cool is that the city is exploring a full takeover of passenger rail. I reached out to the city of Cape Town and they said they're working on a report to be tabled at the December 2025 council meeting, and this report will outline their business plan for Metro Rail in the city. Another exciting project is that there's a new railway link between Khayelitsha, Mitchell's Plain, and Bellville. This is called the Blue Downs Railway Link, and it's pretty cool. Rail is so important and it's needed to connect people to opportunities such as jobs, education, and services. This needs to be affordable, safe, reliable, and accessible for everyone. There just needs to be well-maintained infrastructure, trains that run on time, and stations that are secure and welcoming. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you learned something, leave a comment, and also tell me your experiences with the Cape Town trains if you've ever been on one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories about Cape Town, South Africa, and anything else interesting. Thanks for watching. Bye.